Welcome to Pat's Cast. This is the unofficial Regina Pats podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Steve.
We are doing a review of the Memorial Cup semifinal and luckily a preview of the final for the Memorial Cup. So today is May 26th. This is the day after. Just tell me how you're feeling, Chris.
I'm feeling pretty good. Like I was pretty nervous of that game. I knew Hamilton was pretty good, and but we played a pretty solid game. You know, we didn't have too many lapses. You know, we didn't have periods of lapses. Like we had a couple breakdowns and stuff. But I mean, like we played a pretty complete game. The thing that really stood out was in the defensive zone, the shot blocking. Like Swift Current showed us how to do it. You know, we lost because of that, most likely, and we were blocking shots, sticks and lanes, no cross crease passes. You know, going back door for goals. Like
it was fundamental hockey.
Yeah, they played very well defensively. We didn't have maybe as much offensive zone time, but you know, we kept scoring off the rush. Like the first goal was off the rush again. So yeah, I don't know. It was an exciting.
I just want to go back. You said you were nervous going into this game.
Yeah,
I was too. I mean, if I had to put money on that, I said it in our preview of the Memorial Cup. I think the Pats can win, but I wouldn't have put money on them. And I wouldn't have put money on them, but they did it, and they looked good.
Well, I know you don't put.
Or was it Hamilton looked bad?
Hamilton didn't look good. Like from what they, we mentioned this on. Can I do a shameless plug here? Mentioned it on the OHL Fanboys podcast. Hamilton didn't look like the same Hamilton team they were in the OHL final against the Sioux. And one of our guys kind of brought up the idea that maybe they weren't that good all along. Maybe they were just playing a really tired Sault Ste. Marie team, and that's why they were looking as good as they were. To be fair, they didn't look good last Friday against Regina, and they looked a lot better during the week against Bathurst and Swift Current, and then they went back to not looking so good in the semifinal. And you know, I said I gave all credit in the world to the Pats. They deserved to win that game more than Hamilton did. Like Chris mentioned, they're just blocking shots. They're getting sticks in lanes. Hamilton didn't have many chances that weren't coming from the outside. Like Paddock faced, I think in the end it was 46 shots, something like in that neighborhood. And to be honest, yeah, he got named first star because he, I guess, officially had 44 saves or whatever it was, but he didn't have to be stellar at all. Like he didn't look like he had a heavy workload in the game. And
shots, they're misleading stat, I find. I mean, if you're looking, we got outshot 21-5 in the third period. But I didn't feel like it was different than when we played the Bathurst game or even Swift Current, where the team sat back and they didn't take shots. They were still pushing. They pushed all the way to the third, and I think they learned a lot in that Swift Current game. And they didn't sit back. They didn't play that defensive, whatever, prevent defense that we all hate in football. But they came out and they were pushing still, and Hamilton couldn't just sort of write off the Pats saying, okay, they're not going to be doing their offensive thing, so let's just push, because the Pats kept on coming all third period.
Yeah, like they didn't have much zone time per se offensively, but they weren't sitting back. Like they were getting the puck deep. They were, you know, trying to keep it in the Hamilton end in the third period. Yeah, they looked much better in this game than they against the Swift Current, trying to hold that lead against Swift Current.
They played with the lead
all
properly.
Over them in that third period. This game, it was, you know, Hamilton did get 21 shots, but I mean, like, at least Regina was pushing back, and they played much better. Like,
right.
It was 2-1 late in that game, and I was like, yeah, we got this. Like, just the way they were playing, I was confident.
You know,
compared to the Swift Current game, I was not that confident.
I wrote a note. We took a penalty, I think, at the 10-minute mark in the third period or something. And usually when we take a penalty, I'm thinking, oh God, here we go. Like we're gonna I usually get nervous and upset. This time I was like, they got it. Like I wasn't even concerned, and they killed it. Even when they took that 4 minute, I was like, that's a long one. But they're playing good. I think this team's got this game. They looked like it, and I felt like it through most of that game.
I know Hamilton's power play left a lot to be desired. I mean, they had that 4-minute power play, and I think it was the Bathurst game on Tuesday night, and it had no urgency whatsoever. In a game that if they had won by a couple of goals, they would have been the team going to the final.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say this, their 4-minute power play looked a lot more aggressive against the Pats, but just, again, something just wasn't clicking with them all night long, and they didn't look like the team that they had been. Again, that's not taking anything away from Regina. Regina looked good. Like they clearly had more energy. They were up for the game, and it did seem. I texted Chris when the Pats took the 3-1 lead, and I said this game is over. I can't see Hamilton coming back now. Shows what I know. Very next shift, Will Bitton came down and scored a pretty nice goal, and you think, well, maybe they do still have a shot, but the Pats held on.
Yeah, I was confident that. They were going to win the game at the 5-minute timeout, TV timeout. I bought another ticket to the final. I was like, yeah, they're going to win this. And then they scored the 3-1 goal. I'm like, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like Steve said, oh, they got this. And then they let it up. I'm like, oh, I guess we just can't have a 2-goal game. It's got to be a 1-goal game.
Hamilton only scored because I texted you to say, you guys got this, only to make you more nervous.
Yeah, no doubt.
But we kind of harped on Puto a little bit after that Swift Current game, letting Godden go by. And I specifically saw him, it's almost the exact same play. The guy trying to come up on his side, and he just rubbed the guy out. And I just thought, man, he probably got a bit of a talking to, and he stepped up.
He probably didn't even need to be talked to, because when you let a guy go by you and he scores, you know it. So nobody had to say anything to him. Yeah, especially that first one, Godden slipped right by him. Like, Puto's a physical guy. He always finishes check. Yeah. So that was really surprising. And, they looked physical out there. Well, even Hamilton brought it first with that hit on Hebig. Oh, he got crushed.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, last night's game had to have been the most physical we've seen all tournament, not just because it had a fight in it.
Right.
Just the hits from both teams. Hamilton kind of came out and set the tone, and when Stillman laid that hit out on Hebig, you think, man, they're ready to play. Like Hamilton, and a lot of people, myself included, thought Hamilton was going to win that game. And you know what? The Pats didn't panic. They threw the hits back themselves, and both teams, I think in the end, it might have been even as far as the big hits go. I don't know what the official stat was, but it seemed pretty even to me, and both teams were just into it.
How about Cale Fleury? Man, that guy is a brick shithouse out there. The guy, wow. And I love watching him play. Yeah. He was laying it out too.
Somebody tried to hit him, and they just fell down again.
Yeah.
Like
that's not the first.
No, well, Sajan.
I think that was Stillman. Like Stillman, who lays some pretty big checks. He just got hit like bad.
That's right. It was in the neutral zone, and Stillman tried to hit him, and he got stopped. Stillman didn't go down, but it was still a big hit. And Steve noted, he's like, he went off the ice like hunched over. And we watched the replay on Sportsnet when we got home, and it was you could see Stillman. He hit a brick wall.
Right, and they mentioned that they were thinking, is he going to come back? They were going to keep an eye on him.
He was hurting bad. He may not have fallen down, but he was probably hurting a lot more than guys who do fall down.
Yeah, because it was a big hit.
Fleury,
that was later in the game too.
He gets some praise, but he's quickly moving up as one of my must-watch favorite players on that team right now.
Was it him that missed that guy? He tried to run a guy earlier in the game, and he missed him, and he kind of went into the boards himself. Because the guy was off the boards, like maybe 15, 20 feet, and he tried to run through this guy, and he kind of, whoever it was, sidestepped him, and he went into the boards a little heavy. But I was like, ooh, that was going to be a big hit.
And I think one of the other encouraging things that we're seeing is some of the secondary scoring, right? We're seeing Pratt scored for us this game.
Okay, so funny stat about that. Platt last game and Pratt this game both haven't scored since December 15th, 2017.
Right. So we're getting goals in the Memorial Cup from these guys who
haven't scored in like 50 plus games.
They both scored on the same night for two different teams, remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Pratt was still with Red Deer at that point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is interesting. But I mean, Platt, he's getting in fights. He's scoring goals. I mean, where did this
Platt
guy
was
come
always
from?
fighting, though. He was always chucking them.
But I mean, Memorial Cup isn't a
yeah.
fighting tournament.
No.
Anymore.
But I think, I mean, that fight was by their
Yeah, it was
their
pretty weak.
captain was to get them going, obviously. But
This wasn't a fight from your dad's Memorial Cup, that's for sure.
it wasn't fan fight.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I do want to touch on the game-winning goal. I don't know, like, I didn't look at the rule book, but that was, I mean, there was contact on that goalie there.
Yeah, no, definitely. We watched the replay a couple times, and people on Twitter said that should have been a penalty. So,
Is it by the law?
It is.
The letter
It
of the law?
is. It's a penalty. But, I mean, like on it was mentioned on our show last night with Kevin Jordan. He said he was cheering for Hamilton. He didn't like the call, or the non-call. But in the end, it's just like, you know what? Sometimes that's the way it goes. Sometimes you get the calls going your way. Sometimes you get a missed call and it's really bad. Now, to be fair, in a game of that magnitude, it probably should have been called. But
what do you think the rationale was? Because, I mean, it was the play. It wasn't like behind the play and someone missed it.
Yeah.
What do you think the ref's rationale was? It because he was playing the puck and it was just kind of incidental on a follow-through or
like,
what?
You'd never know, but I mean, like, it's not like he ran the goalie. His skate when he was trying to caught Fulcher's skate and took his leg out a bit.
I'm thinking the referee must have thought it was incidental contact,
Mm-hmm.
but even at that point, maybe it's not a penalty, but maybe the goal should have been called back. Now, to be fair, we watched that replay a lot of times, and I don't know where the referee is in that play. Now, is he looking at it? Is he kind of more towards the blue line where he sees the player and not when the player skates in front of Fulcher? Does he only see the Pats player, whoever it was, and not Fulcher?
It was Henry that took him out.
Well, I'm pretty sure the one ref was in the corner that Fulcher was skating away from. Like he was in the right corner and Fulcher was going to his left. So like I think the back ref was there. So I'm pretty sure he would have had a decent angle on it.
I mean, you assume that one of them saw it, but you know what? In the moment, I didn't even think it was anything wrong with it until much later when I saw a replay or I saw people on Twitter freaking out. In the moment, it just seems like, oh my God, you think, oh my God, Fulcher just misplayed it really bad. And, the Pats score. And all the Hamilton players at that end of the ice, they kind of froze in the spot where they were when Steele scored. And they just sat there because it's almost like they knew that was it.
That was it, yeah.
So that's 2 games in a row now that the goalie has given us the game-winning goal, by the way. Like, okay, we'll take it, I guess.
So what you're saying is Fitzpatrick needs to watch out tomorrow.
But
I guess so.
How do you-
Maybe we'll leave that red light on a little longer.
how do you chant Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, I know. Somebody already pointed that out. I don't know what we're going to do.
We'll have to figure that out.
I think it's going to be more like a Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
Fitzpat.
That's
That's
good.
that's about
I was
as close
thinking
as
of
you can
just
get.
shortening it to Fitz.
Yeah, I don't
But
know what we're
yeah,
going to
no,
do. But
Fitzpatrick. That's pretty good. Okay.
two syllables work so well.
Can you coordinate 6,500 people to do that, though? I don't know.
It was tough. Like, the Fulcher chant started before the anthems last night. Like, Skinner started right after the anthems. Fulcher, we were on him right away.
Yeah.
And then Steve put out a good video of the fans in the end there, just laying it into him after he gave up that goal. Like, people were just yelling and screaming.
Now, to be fair, considering he gave up such a big goal, Fulcher was named second star of the game. And you know what? To be fair, I thought he had more big saves than Paddock did. And to give the Pats fans credit, I did hear one guy when they announced him as second star, he came out. I heard like one lone guy trying to yell Fulcher. But for the most part, everyone gave him a pretty good ovation.
Right.
Oh yeah, he looked good out there. Yeah, like we didn't have as many
So speaking
quantity, but we had some quality.
Speaking of Paddock, one of the plays that stands out in my mind was, I don't know, there was like 35, 40 seconds left, and he had the puck, and he could have froze it, but he had the awareness to see who was around him, and he saw we had the Pats players around him, and he let it go again to allow us to take possession and then move out of the zone and go on to that eventual goal. I just thought what the, because most goalies in that situation would just fall on the puck, freeze it, done, and then. But who knows? And then Hamilton gets the face off and they pass it back and score. But I was just really impressed by that play and that awareness that he had.
Yeah, no, that was a good play because, sitting at the far end, we're all just like, oh, what are you doing? Don't give it up. Like, but no, it was the right play. Like, we're just like, freeze it. But no, he made the right play.
Well, you know what? He freezes it, and then that gives Hamilton more time to rest and a face-off in the Pat zone. If they win that draw, who knows what happens? So, as much as you want him to cover it and get that play dead, in some cases it's just way better to keep it going as long as he knows he can get it to one of his defensemen.
Yeah, like you just got to see what the bodies are like. Like, if there's a Hamilton guy there, you obviously got to freeze it. But if you got some numbers and, guys are spread out and you can make a play to get it out of the zone easily, that was the right play.
Yeah, I just noticed that, and I was impressed. Leading up to the Memorial Cup, and even watching the Swift Current game, Thomas was on my radar. I barely noticed him last night. Like, what happened? Was it us or was it him?
You know what? Hamilton just had a lack of goal scoring in this tournament. I think that's pretty obvious. They only scored 9 goals in 4 games. Their leading scorer in the tournament was defenseman Ben Gleason with a goal and 4 assists. And then Sajin had 4 assists. And then Thomas was third on the team with 2 goals and 1 assist. It was pretty obvious. He had that one game against Swift Current where, he looked really dangerous. And I don't know what game it was. It might have been in the Swift Current game where he scored a really nice bar-down goal. But you know what? Yeah, he wasn't very visible at all last night. And I think it was the Swift Current game or the Regina game in the round robin, Chris, where you said you thought Camano was their best player. But, just it seemed like last night no one Hamilton player looked that good offensively.
Yeah, no, I think it was just our D. Like, we were shutting them down. I think they really keyed on him. Obviously, like, he's obviously their best shooter. And, like, he had some looks on the back door and stuff, but nothing got through. Like, everything was tipped or got a piece of, so there was no clean passes through. And the rush, they didn't have much on the rush either. Like,
yeah. I mean, it was such a refreshing, fun game to watch as a Pats fan.
Well, it was a good game overall. Like, it was 2 good teams going at it. It's not like we blew them out. It's not like they crapped the bed or anything. It was 2 good teams.
Yeah. I mean, going in last night, if you're a Pats fan, you probably are very worried. I thought Hamilton was going to be good enough to pull that out. But it became pretty clear, 10, 15 minutes in that game that Hamilton just seemed off again. And like Chris said, you guys were only up by a goal. And I'm sure, you were still nervous, but at the same time, it felt like the Pats were okay, no matter what was going to happen there.
Yeah, it did.
And Hamilton's a team that can kind of come out and bite you. They did it against the Sioux a lot, but it just something seemed off from them all night, just like it did on the opener last Friday.
Yeah, like, I was more confident in that 2-1 game than the 5-2 lead on Swift Current. So that tells you something.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I was watching that game. My son was a disaster, and I was looking after him. And I was like, I'm not even that worried. I'll look after him and watch this game out of the corner of my. I felt that confidence, not even being at the rink. I could feel it just watching it. But that leads us into tomorrow. I after this game last night, I don't see why not.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be another good game. Bathurst, I don't know how the break treats them, right? How they'll come out. You never know. Like, it sounded like the Hamilton coach was fine with the extra game. He's like, sometimes it's not a bad thing. Well, it didn't work out for them, but
we didn't take any injuries in that game. They, if anything, they're fired up now. They have the confidence and the momentum.
Yeah, definitely.
They're rolling right now. They had the loss there, but against Katy Bathurst, but they came back even in that game. They look good right now, and Bathurst has been off for days, so you can't say they're not rested. Was it they've had 5 days off, I guess, going in, or 4, whatever it is, but. Bathurst, you got 2 pretty rested teams, even though Bathurst has played a lot more games lately. But you know what? Yeah, it is going to be a why not us mentality. Now, that being said, I know a lot of people are probably still picking Bathurst to win this thing. They have looked really good all tournament.
Mm-hmm.
The only time they didn't look good was when they played Hamilton. And then there's that whole thing at the end where they didn't even bother pulling the goalie, and that's essentially what got them to the final.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, then they sat back in that Regina game with that lead, right? They didn't look good there, but they had a 5-goal lead. So maybe Regina can take some positives away from that one period that they played in that whole game. And
I think they forget that game, and they take the positives from this Hamilton game.
yeah, true.
I mean, that was the game.
That was 3 games ago, right?
If they play like that, that's some of the best hockey they can play, and if they can't win, then the better team will win.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like it's gonna be 2 games. Every game here has been good, so I doubt it's gonna be a blowout. It's gonna be a tight game, I think.
I don't know if I got this stat in on my own show, so I'll put it here. Maybe I did. I can't remember. 5 games in the round robin were officially decided by 1 goal, and then you had the 8-6 game with the empty netter with 1 second left.
Yeah.
It's the first time since the current format has been put in place, that's 35 years ago, where you've had more than 4 games and with a difference of 1 goal in a round robins, and many of them were 3 or 2 or less. So I think statistically this is the closest Memorial Cup ever. And I said, I've seen a lot of teams go 0-3 before, but I don't think I've seen any team like Swift Current. The Swift Current team was the best 0-3 team I've ever seen. Like just no one looks there. I don't want to say anyone looks bad because there are, Hamilton had their bad stretches and you guys had the bad stretches and Acadia didn't look that good on Tuesday night, but at the same time, no one has looked terrible here. These are 4 teams that all deserve to be here, and whether they went out 0-3 or win the title on Sunday, they've all impressed me. It's been fantastic to watch. One of the best Memorial Cups I've ever seen. Anyone
who didn't get up for this tournament and had the chance to go and even watch on TV, they missed out, because this was a ton of fun to watch, and I am pumped for tomorrow. I haven't been this excited for a sporting event. I think, I don't know, that run last year, but man, I don't know what else compares to it. This is it.
Yeah, this is the top mountain right here, so if you can't get up for this, stay home.
The energy in that building will be through the roof. I mean, we went through all the playoffs last year. I don't know. It better be up there, and I think it will be. It sounded like tickets have sold out fast to all the. I mean, this was all I could do was this one game. I bought this ticket weeks ago before I knew the outcome, and I'm so happy I did. This is gonna be a good game.
Yeah, well, like they were gone right after. As soon as they won, like the tickets were gone. Good thing I bought that one with 5 minutes to go in the game. So, like, and then there were people asking $200-300 for them, and it's just like, oh, screw off. Like same with last year in the final. Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see you're going to be there for at least that game, because it would be bad for, the one time your team makes a Memorial Cup final in your backyard that you're not there. Now I guess my question to you guys now is, what do you got planned if you guys win? And I know you're not trying to be cocky, but you got to do something big if they win. First Memorial Cup title in 40-something years.
As much as we can plan.
Yeah, I don't know.
We were talking about this earlier. Sadly enough, I don't think the city will do a ton. I don't see even after the game, how when the Riders win, Green Mile and all this and that, I don't think there'll be any road closures down on Albert Street there.
Yeah, like it's not going to be 13 when the Riders won it here, but I mean that's the city. It's Riders or bust. Like everything's just an afterthought.
But
so I don't know.
What are we going to do?
I don't know.
I'm bringing a bottle of champagne. So if you see someone outside of Brant Center spraying champagne, come up and say hi, because that'll be us. Hopefully, that's not illegal, is it?
Yeah, I think they'll let it slide. It's a parking lot. It's not.
Just don't let the cops see.
Okay. As for what we have planned, I don't know. Like, I'm just ecstatic to be here right now. Like,
I guess the question is the is the Memorial Cup final post game recap show going to be done post game while you guys are in celebration mode, or is it going to be Monday hangover mode, or is it going to be Sunday night like ugh?
We'll have a recap from the rink. If we win, if we don't win, I'm gonna be down. I'm not gonna feel like talking that night.
That might be a Monday night kind of recap.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we'll have live on the scene clip at least, or maybe not like the full
we'll be
episode or
talking.
something.
Man, if we win, we will be talking and drinking, and they will have random people walking by doing interviews, and it'll be a fun time, you guys.
I mean, last year, just remembering, we were on location in Windsor. The Spitfires won it. Brian, for you listeners who don't know, my podcast partner is a lifelong Windsor Spitfires fan. Didn't get to be there in Rimouski or Brandon when they won their 2 previous Memorial Cups. And when that team piled off the bench at the end of the game to win, he was literally crying, tears of joy. And he was super pumped right after the game. But by the time we left the rink, he was so drained that he didn't really party that much, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we went back to his place. He had a cigar. He had a stiff drink. We recorded our post-game show, and that was it. He went to bed, and it was he was just so drained from it all.
I guess the nice thing is it's early. It's a 5 p.m. start. So, end 8:30, 9 o'clock. We could get a post-game in and be in bed by midnight.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know if I can come down. If they win, I don't know if I can come down off that high, that quick.
You going to be going to work Monday morning?
Well, maybe not. Let's see what happens.
And also, I'm curious to see if Sportsnet learned their lesson from last year and not run the camera right down the losing team's bench, or else a goalie's going to javelin throw a stick at you.
So you guys missed it, and I actually heard Brian talk about it. The Brandt Center, people standing up in the last minute, they flipped to this other... Did you watch the replay?
Yeah, because they showed the highlights. So they showed the empty netter from the sky cam, right?
I'd never seen that camera before in my life. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, here it is. We've had this
Brian
forever.
was all over that. He's like, where was that all tournament? I needed that.
It was kind of cool, actually. Yeah,
it's a wicked view. Like, I can get maybe not using it for the entire time, but it was a really good view of the ice. Like, that's a better view of the ice than you get from the main camera. And I know a lot of people 2 years ago in Red Deer, they had a similar camera view of what you guys have here. And a lot of people didn't like that either. So sometimes I think it's cool because it kind of makes you feel like you're more in the stands a little bit, and it kind of transfers it better to TV.
The guy walking in front of you, you're like, sit down. It's the middle of the play.
Well, it's like when we were watching the games in Everett, the bald guy right in front of the
guy,
camera.
yeah, the whole game.
He literally covered half the ice. Especially when they were in the left side of the rink there. Like, he was right in the camera shot every time.
I know. Yeah, it's funny. Anyway, it's been a ride. I'm pumped for tomorrow. This year has been just with season tickets and getting this thing going. We've been into it, and I'm balls deep in this thing now. I'm excited. I want this now.
Yeah, I want to win. Like,
because you guys wanted to lose before, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
You have that tentative confidence, but you're like, we lost in the first round. We have a pretty good team, but you never know.
You wouldn't have been surprised if you went like 0-3 or something, or at least like you were out by this point. Like, you're almost like, now that you're here, it's real.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sure, I picked us to win, but I'm like, I wouldn't have been surprised if we didn't make it.
Yeah. So I don't know what we do. We're gonna be there, and we are gonna. I'm hoping for. It's gonna be intense. The crowd's gonna be there. It's gonna go, and it's. I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to say about it?
I don't think so. Just, if you're there, just cheer as hard as you allow.
We'll have to figure out as a group, collective whole, if it's just fits, or if it's, what did you say, Steve?
Fitzpatrick, like, dude, say the fits really quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to get on that right away.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Game, so.
We'll figure it out before the anthems, and we'll get that going. And I'm gonna say we're gonna be here tomorrow night. We're gonna have a kind of an uncut, raw post game
from the
celebration episode for you guys.
That's speak for the sound quality is not going to be as good.
No, it'll be good because you have
No
all
one's
that-
gonna care.
That emotion there. You have
Yeah,
all the
it'll
emotion.
be
Everybody
raw.
cheering. Yeah, we'll do a recording right in the barn there. Maybe
Right in the-
maybe we can jump on the ice and get a couple comments. You never know. Unofficial media.
You know what? My best friend and I BS'd our way onto the ice after Guelph won the 04 OHL title. Now the Memorial Cup is a little bit tighter security than that, so
Okay.
but I wish you boys the best of luck in that.
Maybe I'll just steal your media pass.
That might be a bit hard, but we'll see.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to say?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no. Thanks for coming out again and throwing in your 2 cents and your
Everyone-
stats and everything. So
Yeah, everyone, that's Steve from OHL Fanboys podcast giving us a little bit of a guest host over the weekend. Yeah, let's go out tomorrow and let's win this fucking thing. Let's do it.
hell yeah.
All right. Good night, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night.